Hello students and welcome to Math Weekly number 19. In this Math Weekly, your focus skill will be area. Let's begin with what is area. Area is the number of square units that can cover a surface. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that there are squares covering the shaded areas. Now, what makes area difficult is when those squares are not whole. In other words, there's part of squares here and here. However, area is consistently related to the lengths that can represent a figure. Therefore, you can use formulas to help you speed up the process of calculating area. These are the formulas that you need to know and be able to use for this grade level. You need to be able to calculate the area of a circle, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, a parallelogram, and a trapezoid. You have all of these formulas on your 7th and 8th grade formula sheets. Now, for the rest of the video, I'm going to walk you through an example of each of these. You are permitted to use a calculator for this Math Weekly, but you are also to show your work, as in what formula you're using and what you're typing in your calculator. So let's begin with the area of a circle. For a circle, the area formula is pi times the radius squared. Now, if you look at our circle, we are not given the radius, we are given the diameter. The diameter is the distance all the way across the center. We need to know the radius, which is halfway across the center, more like this. Well, if it's 20 the whole way across, how far is it halfway across? Well, that would be 10 meters. Now, substitute your radius, which is 10 meters, into your formula. So area equals pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 10, squared. Now, order of operations says that when we have multiplication and exponents, we need to do the exponents first. So 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. So we have 3.14 times 100. Last, do the multiplication. 3.14 times 100 is 314. And if you didn't know that, you could use your calculator. Now remember, it's square units that cover a surface. So since this is meters, we would label this square meters. Even though we say square before we say meters, we put the square afterwards so it's not mistaken as squaring the number, only squaring the meters. So our area is 314 square meters. Let's move on to an example of a triangle. The formula for a triangle is area equals half the base times the height. Now, the base is the distance that the height is being measured off of. So you can see that the height is measured here, how tall it is, it's 10 meters. The base lies at the bottom of the height. Not always at the bottom of the picture, we could turn this, but at the bottom of the height, which is 14 meters. So this is our base measurement. So our area is half times the base, which is 14, times the height, which is 10. So because we have multiplication is as our only operation, we work left to right. What is half of 14? Well, half of 14 is 7, times that by 10, and we get 70, and again it's meters, so square meters, because area is the number of square units that cover a surface. Let's now look at a square. This square is 5 by 5, and it's measured in inches. The formula for the area of a square is side times side. So if our formula is side times side, our side length is 5, and our other side length is 5, so we have 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Now, since it was measured in a length of inches, our area is going to be square inches, because area is the number of square units that covers a surface. Let's move on to a rectangle. The formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. Well, you can see that our rectangle is 7 yards long, so I'm going to substitute 7 for L, and 4 yards wide, so I'm going to put 4 for our width. So our area is 7 times 4, which is 28, and since the length was measured in yards, it's going to be square yards. So the area of this rectangle is 28 square yards. Now let's look at a parallelogram. The formula for a parallelogram is area is base times height. Now the base is the bottom that the height is being measured off of. So we can see that if we bring down the height, the base would be down here. However, in a parallelogram, this distance is the same as this distance. So our base is 15 inches, just like up here. Our height is at a 90-degree angle, so our height is 8 inches. So our area is the base, which is 15, times the height, which is 8. 15 times 8 is 120. So our area is 120 square inches. Let's look at our last shape, which is a trapezoid. Our formula for a trapezoid is a little more complicated. It is area equals 1/2 the height times the sum of the two bases added together. So we have to look for what our two bases are, and that's what the height is between. Now remember, our height has to be at a 90-degree angle. So this is our height because that's a 90-degree angle. This is not the height. This is not at a 90-degree angle. This is a very acute angle. Our bases are what the height is being measured between. So this is our base and this is our base. And it won't matter if you could label 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. It doesn't matter. So our area equals 1/2 times the height, which is 4, times the two bases added together, which are 6 and 8. Order of operations, you have to do the parentheses first. So 6 plus 8 makes 14. I'm just rewriting everything else. Now we just have multiplication left. 1/2 times 4 times 14. So we work left to right. 1/2 of 4 is 2. And we do 2 times 14, which is 28. Now, this does not tell us if it's inches or meters or feet, so we just label our answer as square units because we don't know what type of units they are, but whatever they are, they will be squares. Now we're going to look at one more example, which is a compound area. For compound areas, you need to split them into simple shapes. This compound area could be formed as a rectangle, see the rectangle here, and a half circle. Let's begin with the rectangle, since we have done a rectangle before. I always like to label it part 1, so I don't forget to go back and do part 2. So for part 1, we have a rectangle. Area equals length times width for a rectangle. This rectangle is 7 centimeters long and 2 centimeters wide. So our area is 7 times 2, which is 14, and that would be square centimeters. Now I'm not finished, that's just the rectangle. I now need to do the half circle. I don't have a formula for a half circle, but I do have a formula for a whole circle that I can divide in 2 when I'm finished. So for a whole circle, I would do pi times the radius squared. But since I have to do a half circle, I'm going to have to divide that by 2 when I'm finished because it's going to be half of a circle, not a whole circle. Now, I know the distance across the whole bottom of this figure is 7. If I take away the 1 and the 2 from that distance, I get a remainder of 4 centimeters. Isn't 1 plus 4 plus 2 7? Now, this 4 centimeters represents the diameter. So if the diameter is 4, then the radius is 2. So my formula is going to look like this. Area equals pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 2, squared, divided by 2. Now, order of operations says I have multiplication, exponent, and division. I need to do the exponent first. 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. So I have 3.14 times 4 divided by 2. When I have only multiplication and division, I have to do them left to right. So I need to do 3.14 times 4. Notice that even though I'm using my calculator, I am still showing my work. 3.14 times 4 is 12.56. And last step, I need to divide that by 2, and I get an area of 6.28 square centimeters for that half circle. To get my final area, I'll have to add 14 square centimeters and 6.28 square centimeters. And when I do, I get 20.28 square centimeters in all. So let's summarize what we've learned about area in Math Weekly 19. Area is the number of square units that cover a surface. Area is consistently related to the lengths of the figure, and therefore a formula can be used to calculate the area. You are responsible for the following shapes and any combination of shapes: circle, triangle, square, rectangle, parallelogram, and trapezoid.